From beautiful North Hollywood, California, it's Flashback Tonight, starring Delious. Tonight's guest is a pop diva who ruled the 80s. Taylor Dayne is here.
I am so excited for our first guest. I was such a fan of Taylor Dayne, right? In the 80s. She had such big hits with Tell It to My Heart and Love Will Leave You Back and Prove Your Love. And she's here tonight. Put your hands together for Taylor Dayne! Hey, baby girl. Thank you. Yeah. Whoa! Taylor Dayne, oh my gosh.
How are you?
My goodness, I was such a fan in the 80s. It was like I was in my room singing, Tell It to My Heart, because you had all the dance tracks and all the energy and stuff.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I actually thought you were a black girl. Yeah.
You're
I
not
thought you were
alone.
black.
Did you see the first album cover? There was no photo on it. There's a reason.
Oh, really?
Oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of people thought you were a black singer, huh? And that was the reason?
I think even when they saw my photo too.
Well, you know, you had the black girl crimped hair, and she had the big hair and the big everything, and you had the lips from everything, right? I don't know if I should say that yet. I tried to censor myself real quick, but she's for it. So you've been in the game for over 30 years when other people have quit. What do you think that you did right?
What did I do right? Well, perseverance. You know, it's this funny thing. When I was growing up, I used to say, there's a yellow brick road, there's a yellow brick road, you know? It's the land to Oz, you know, there always is. Well, I used to say, I've fallen off the yellow brick road, but I go like that, and I get back on. There's a lot of no's.
Yeah.
There's very few yeses, and those yeses just mean the world. And perseverance and hard work. You just got to know that everything you love, anything you're passionate about, is a lot of hard work.
So how did this start? So your first big single was Tell It to My Heart. I heard a rumor like you borrowed the money from your father or something like that. Now, where did you find the song? Okay. And was your dad like, what?
I was the little 4 or 5-year-old that drove, you know, was just driving my parents and my family crazy. I sang with every commercial. I sang with everything. My father is the first person I remember that gave me a radio, a little transistor radio. We're talking the late 60s, early 70s, and I was 3, 4, 5, and it was WABC New York, you know? I grew up in Long Island, and Howard Stern, if you ever watched and listened to any of his stuff, he wasn't kidding. I grew up in Roosevelt and Freeport. So there's a reason. I was a little Jewish girl from Long Island, but I grew up in the hood. I grew up, you know, like, it was an interesting time to grow up there and be a white person, I would say. But color always intrigued me. And I have to say, because the soul, the music is colorless and colorful. And I just gravitated to the music the minute I turned that radio on. So how did it start? It started being that pain in the ass, running around singing to everything.
Well, what was the influence? So you've got that
The
soul.
radio.
But what artists on the radio? Because you've got that soul voice with that
let's talk
sort
about
of...
the 70s.
Okay.
You tell me what was the top 20 singles of that time.
I wasn't around. I'm too young.
Bill Withers. Number 1. Okay. I wasn't around.
I was too young for the 70s.
Oh,
so.
please.
I've heard it was Bill Withers, though.
I don't care who you were. I mean, the 70s had this, I mean, Ohio players. Fire.
Yeah.
I don't care who you, Temptations. You know, it was just this incredible, and then you had Three Dog Night, or, you know, The Ink is Black. I mean, every song it was just magic, and I think it always had some R&B and rhythm and blues running through it. Chicago, if you listen to the early Chicago, which actually got the radio, although there is Karen Carpenter.
Karen has some great songs, yeah,
I have to say top 10 would be Karen, Close to You. Yeah.
Well,
top 5 song, right?
So like people have like signature style voices, like you say Karen Carpenter. We know Karen Carpenter is like that tonality and that smoothness, that great thing. You're like loud. You're like me. Like I'm loud. Like they're always trying to turn me down. You know? Do
you have such a lovely your voices. You have a lovely you're articulate.
Thank you, Taylor.
You are.
You know.
I mean, I sound like I'm still in the Bronx or something.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You're from New York, so a lot of people think of New Yorkers as brash or so. Did you leave that?
Oh, for sure.
You can turn that on?
I still am.
You're still that brash person?
I don't know. I've been accused of it, but I think it's a truthful way to be. I'm not saying that being brassy. I admire women that actually seem so, they can restrict themselves. I do admire that quality, and a lot of my good friends, I admire many qualities. But I will say that they look at me and they go, oh God, I miss you, Taylor. I so miss. I go, why? Because I just like, blah, tell it like I see it, tell it how it is. I mean, that is the New York way. That is definitely the East Coast way.
That is the only way to do it, right?
I don't know if it's the only way. It's my way. And that can go a lot of ways.
I love this whole thing. Can we be friends after this?
Dude, we are friends.
Can we hang out? Okay, good.
But you know, I'm going to be calling you Delicious. You know that? I don't know how he's kept up his name for so long because I can't see like that. I mean, but it's delicious to me.
Okay.
Really is delicious.
Milk chocolate delicious.
D&D.
D&D. There we go.
D&D, baby.
Well, speaking of Taylor Dayne, that's not a New York name. So what?
That's not a Jewish name. That's what it is.
Talking about names, where does Taylor Dayne come from?
Well, it came from all right, you touched the, yeah. Okay, seriously, the name Taylor Dayne, Dee Snider is basically instrumental in helping me break with Rick Wake, of course, my producing partner at the time. And we were 19, 20. Guys, this is like, you're not thinking too hard. You're just like, we gotta move, I gotta be in those lights. That's all you're thinking, like, get out of my way. If it doesn't work, figure out another way. So Rick and I met him, I was working in a Russian nightclub. I was 21, down in Brighton Beach. I would do my little B210, and once I got over like, I think it was exit 8 where it was Coney Island, I started going doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo because then I was in Little Russia. And let me tell you, that was a whole nother way of developing, you know what I mean? Developing my craft. So back to how I got the $6,000 and my father, I mean, honestly, it was Rick and I, like, we put it together. My father saw how hungry we were, and I was already doing singles with him.
Well, did your dad didn't name you Taylor Dayne though, right?
He didn't, because he didn't really, I was Leslie Wonderman, but I was like, Dad, I had a single out last year called Leslie, and he goes, what? And I go, but it didn't really do anything, so if I continue making music under Leslie, which sucks, I just believe I have to have a new name. And we went to I think the bar that night after we were in the studio with Dee, and Dee's like, well, you're kind of cool, like a Joey or a Ricky or like a guy's name, like a Tommy. And the guy that was engineering goes, oh, I have a girlfriend named Tommy. We're like, oh, how cool. And he goes, but my real girlfriend's Taylor, and I just tell her I'm going out with Tommy. And we were all like, Taylor? We didn't even, who was a Taylor then? This was 1986, kids, 87. So we were like, Taylor. So basically he was cheating on his girlfriend, but telling her he was with the Tommy. So we went to Taylor, and we went to the baby book that night because Richie Cannata was Billy Joel's sax player. That's whose studio we were recording in then, where a lot of the magic happened. And he said, here's my baby book, I'm having a baby, I'm verklempt anyway. So we went Taylor, and Rick goes, I like Dayne, D-A-N-E. But the joke is my brother and I lived in a house together, and he was my mother's house, and my father left her basically, and she went to go live in an ashram. So bottom line is we took the house over. Oh yeah, she was too verklempt for that. So we took the house over, so my brother never got out of a robe, and he was downstairs doing a lot of this every day, I'm sure. I was in the top, and all I know is he comes up one day and he goes, this is pre-internet, pre-telephone, you know, cell phones. We had none of that crap. We had magazines. And so he goes, Taylor, Leslie, there's another Taylor Dayne. I mean, I had just signed on the ink with Arista Records for this thing. I go, Taylor Dayne? He goes, D-A-N-E. I go, this phone rings, and it's Arista. And I go, they go, there's a porn star named Taylor Dayne. And I go, well, shove a Y in there, man, and like, that should be all right. So I could, like, they were like, how can we change the print? Like, Taylor what? I go, throw a Y in there. So Taylor Dayne with a Y, and then she became Taylor Wayne.
Wow,
do your porn, you know, due diligence and recon, and you will see.
Wow, that was hard to follow.
You did get me back to the.
That was like that. They had Twisted Sister to the Cars to like I'm like all kinds of people.
Sex,
Billy Joel,
drugs, and rock and roll.
And your brother.
That's how it did start.
Okay, well.
I got the name through a baby book that happened to be in a bar where the guy was treating, and the sex, and then Dee's, you know, that's how it worked.
And Taylor was born. And then, you have to admit, I'm a little jealous of you because I've heard that on your first time around, they're fake.
No shit. We're gonna have to pump that up.
They won't die. I heard that on your first tour around, you got to open for like Michael Jackson and Prince. Is that serious?
It was like, listen, the first single I released was Tell It to My Heart. It went #1 through the world. This doesn't happen. Okay, so my point is, it didn't start started in America because, of course, Clive and Arista signed me for single option album, and they were like, just put anything on it, and it said Taylor Dayne and all that graffiti. They're very iconic cover if you do show it, and it's just is what it is. And they're like, throw our face on it. We're losing millions because we're not selling albums.
Okay.
And so my point is, I released in Europe first, and in Europe I became an overnight sensation.
Okay.
And that was through that song, Tell It to My Heart. And pretty soon Prince was calling, and Michael Jackson's people called. He was doing the Bad Tour. This was the tour. I mean, think about it.
Right, yeah.
This tour, the Jacksons, the Victory Tour is what started Super Tour, like 20 dancers on stage and wind machines. And I mean,
right.
Michael started all of this.
Yeah.
Everything that we understand about the dramatics, he took and watched and studied the classics and the greats and the Fred Astaire's and the Gene Kellys. And it's pretty amazing. But to watch this with him getting blown and watching Pretty Diana and just, I mean, then it was cool to watch people basically dying, hosing down your front 23rd, 3 rows, and I saw the pandemonium and I got part of it.
So were you intimidated? I mean, how do you go for your first tour, be like, all right, I'm singing in New York at clubs, to like, I'm on,
dude,
you're like, not a chance.
Intimidated. I didn't know whether to throw up or shit at the same time. Basically, and then you're going out there. Wait, well, his manager, God bless you, Michael. How many careers did this
Frank Delio?
Frank Delio. God rest your soul. I love this man. Frank Delio was, if you ever saw Goodfellas, he played Tukey. He was the small guy with the cigar. That was Michael's manager, and also Frank ran, what part of Sony did he run for years? He was
I have no idea.
A&R, not the A&R. He was, what division where that payola, a lot of the Italian stuff was going down.
All of it.
In general. Jews and Italians ran the music industry.
Still
God
do.
bless us all. Anyway, the point is that he really told Michael, he goes, I'm going to sell 20 million, and then it went to 30 million. You know, the rest is kind of history. But Michael said, I'm going to make you my manager, Frank. And that's kind of how it started. And yes, I know some stories, and I've heard of many things, but the classiness of Frank and how it went. But Frank would stand there on the side of the stage when I go on, he goes, you're good. You want to come out to the club with me later? I go, am I Taylor Dayne? And we going out on a date? Like, what are we doing here, Frank? Right. Like, you know, it was what it was. And Michael would be like, Frank, she's so good when he'd come. Eventually, you never see the opening act. Who are we all kidding? You get there late, and then he's like, look at her. She's exhausting my audience. I'm like, I'm exhausting his audience. Like, he got the hoses, like, you know, and he's
You're
spinning,
exhausting?
and people are like, Michael. And like, I'm like, I'm exhausting. Frank, she's exhausting them. And I'm like, this is unbelievable.
What?
We can't have her anymore. Look at her. She basically has to.
Michael tried to Diana Ross you?
Oh, hell yes.
Michael tried to Diana Ross and Gladys Knight you? Mm-hmm. Gladys can't
And
open
look,
for Diana?
Diana Ross would call me. She goes, Taylor, it's Diana. If I could save messages that we used to get on our machines, Stevie Nicks, Diana Ross, I mean, Walter Beck. I mean, I wish I had those tapes again.
Oh my gosh.
So I have to say, I've had the honor of growing up during a time, and there's been some great stories out of it. And Michael was, when I hear Never Can Say Goodbye, still, I well up.
Yeah.
And I did go to the funeral, and it was probably one of the most unique, insane, crazy experiences of my life to sit there, and I mean, it was Cassius, I mean, it could have been anybody sitting next to you. And it was thousands and thousands and thousands of people joining to honor the music that is, Rock Your Body comes on right now.
Still.
It's timeless. It's ageless.
Oh, so new music for you. So you're still in the game. You've been doing it.
Yeah.
You've never stopped touring and everything. Is there new music that we can support you on or look for?
Oh, how lovely. New music. Believe it or not, has anybody seen the new Cheetos? I mean, we're in a new, I do commercials. Like the new Cheetos ad is out right now. And Chester the Cheetah is like singing Tell It to My Heart in the car. It's called That's My Jam. So I re-released Tell It to My Heart, and I put a karaoke up. And yeah, it's so hysterical, this commercial.
You have a new karaoke track of Tell It to My Heart?
Yeah, I got it. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's launched now. But besides that, I'm working on a little bit more. The introspection for me right now is I just finished a TED Talk last week. You guys will start seeing. For me, it's all the components of being a woman, lasting perseverance, raising children, being in my industry, loving who I am, and staying healthy in my body as a woman, and where do I see myself, and inspiring and service. Like my service now is, I used to be very, when I was at the height, probably the top pop of the game, I was very nervous when people would come to me like, oh, go up in there and sing, and just sing with us tonight, sing with this band. And I would be like, oh, hell, there was a lot of this.
Right.
A lot of this goes on instead of a lot of this. And after years, I started going, it makes people so happy. you know, I mean, there's some things that are a little jaded than others, but
Right.
shallow. But at the most part, like when they're like Taylor singing, I'm like, just give me a cocktail and I'm sure it'll happen.
What-
No problem.
What,
No problem.
what makes you more nervous, big crowds or small crowds? Like for me, small crowds make me nervous.
No.
10,000 people, no problem. A couple of people in front of you, it's like, oh gosh. It's like
Caliber.
It's like you're gonna be a caliber.
Like TED Talk. Listen to me. The TED Talk, I said, this is worse than the Grammys. This is worse than doing Billy Crystal's opening monologue for the Academy Awards, doing a TED Talk. The stress, the
stress?
rewrites. It took me months to get my presentation, my talk correct.
Yeah.
And I interwove music within it. But
Yeah.
it wasn't just a musical piece.
Yeah.
It was an actual talk. It's part of the memoir that I'm working on right now, which, as you should know.
Yeah,
so
tell us.
you're asking me, you know, plug away, Taylor. So there it is. I'm working on my book, Tell It to My Heart. That's my book.
Okay, so Taylor, 30 years into the game, what have you learned? Or what did you wish you knew now that you didn't know then?
Wish I knew now. Well, regrets are a pain in the ass. So let's just say I'm happily pleased with where I am today. So I would say I wish going into this memoir kind of situation of what I see my past was, and I wish I understood how to maybe navigate a little bit better through the man's world of business at the time, because it is the music business, and it was far more business than I understood, and the business of playing nice in the sandbox versus doing you. Not a lot of people support you being you, whatever that means. But at the end of the day, perseverance, as I said, hard work, and then learning how to play nicely and where, you know, learning how the cheese moves. That's what I spent my time learning a lot about.
Did people try to change you from what
all
you
the
were?
time.
Yeah? What was it that they tried to change?
Well, I think you have to choose to want to change. And change is a difficult thing for all of us, but inevitably we must if we want to feel happier, more fulfilled, and have more things in our life, which is usually joy, family, and the things that truly matter. The difference of 30 years ago is what I said to you today. My service of my purpose, I am so certain of my purpose now. Whereas then you just want to be a star, you want fame, recognition, whatever that means. Or you want to get laid. Most guys do it because they were ugly or they were the nerds, they needed to be laid, no offense. But you might have been the hottie.
Wait a minute!
Most guys,
Wait a minute!
most rock stars, you ask them, they go, I just wanted to get chicks. I just wanted to be recognized, noticed, loved, liked, loved. Let's just leave it at you needed to be loved.
Me?
Well, you can sing.
Okay. I don't know
I'm
if that
just
meant,
saying.
no offense. I've been laid. It may not have been a lot, Taylor, but
Okay,
it got
I needed
used.
it. I needed it to get laid, yeah.
Well, Taylor, will you sing for us?
You're gonna go from getting laid to sing? No.
That's usually when you get laid, after you sing.
I hope this show gets picked up, God mercy. Yes. Of course I will.
She has been such a great guest, and I wish we had more time to spend with her. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and when she comes back, Taylor Dayne is going to sing one of her biggest hits.